My parents called me the ugly high school graduate. It wasn't said as a joke. It wasn't said in private. It was said out loud in front of relatives. On my graduation day, I was standing in the living room, still wearing my gown, holding my certificate carefully like it meant something. Because to me, it did. No one in my immediate family had made it that far easily. I had worked for it, stayed up late, pushed through subjects I struggled with. I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't the most confident, but I finished, and that mattered. My aunt smiled when she saw me. "Look at you," she said warmly. "Mashallah graduate." Before I could respond, my mother laughed lightly from behind me. "Graduate to ho gayi," she said, "lekin dekhne mein koi khas baat nahi hai." She graduated, but there's nothing special about how she looks. A few people chuckled awkwardly, like they didn't know whether to laugh or stay quiet. I felt something tighten in my chest. I tried to smile. Maybe she didn't mean it like that. Maybe it just came out wrong. But then my father added, "Books par dhyan diya, apni shakal par nahi." She focused on books, not her appearance. This time, the laughter was louder, clearer, more comfortable, because now it wasn't just a comment. It was a shared opinion. I stood there, still holding my certificate, but it didn't feel like anything anymore. Just paper, just proof that I had achieved something that apparently didn't matter enough. I slowly placed it on the table beside me. No one noticed. They were still talking, still laughing, still moving on. And that's when I understood something I hadn't fully accepted before. In my family, effort didn't matter as much as image. And I didn't fit their image. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. Because what would I even say? That I tried, that I worked hard, that I was proud of myself? None of that would land. So I stayed quiet. Later that evening, when most of the guests had left, my mother said something else while cleaning up. "You should start taking care of yourself now," she said casually. "No one looks at degrees first." I nodded. Okay. That was all. No fight, no tears, just acceptance. But inside, something shifted. Not anger, not even sadness, just clarity. I stopped expecting validation from them. And more importantly, I stopped explaining myself. That night, I packed a small bag. Not dramatically, not in a rush, just quietly, because I had already made a decision. If I wasn't enough in their house, then I needed to find a place where I could be without changing who I was. And as I closed the door behind me, no one stopped me. No one asked where I was going. No one even noticed. They thought I was just stepping out for a while. They had no idea. I wasn't coming back the same person. The first few weeks on my own were not inspiring. They were practical. I stayed with a classmate at first, sleeping on a thin mattress on the floor. Her family didn't ask too many questions, and I didn't offer many answers. I found a small job at a local clothing store. Nothing special. Long hours, low pay, standing most of the day. But it was enough to start. At first, I avoided mirrors. Not because I believed what my parents said, but because I didn't know what I believed anymore. Was I really plain? Nothing special. Those words stay longer than people think. But something changed slowly, not all at once. Just little things. At the store, I started noticing customers. The way they carried themselves. Some weren't conventionally beautiful, but they had presence, confidence, a quiet kind of comfort in their own skin. And people noticed that more than anything else. One day, a regular customer came in. She wasn't dressed expensively. Simple clothes, no heavy makeup. But the way she walked in, people turned their heads. Not because of how she looked, but because of how she felt about herself. She smiled at me while I was folding clothes. "You look like you're thinking too much," she said. I blinked. Maybe, I replied. She picked up a scarf and looked at it casually. Confidence isn't something you wait for, she said. You practice it. I didn't respond, but I remembered it. That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. Not to judge, just to look. Same face, same features. Nothing had changed, but this time, I didn't repeat their words. I just stood there. Neutral. That was the first step. Weeks turned into months. I started saving money. Slowly, carefully. I invested in small things, not to impress anyone, but to feel better in my own space. A few new clothes that actually fit me well. A haircut I chose myself. Simple skincare. Not because I was trying to fix anything, but because I was finally taking ownership of myself. And something interesting happened. People at work started treating me differently. Not dramatically, but noticeably. More respect, more eye contact, more conversation. Nothing about my face had changed, but something about my presence had. One day, my manager called me into the office. We're opening a second branch, she said. I want you to help supervise. I was surprised. She nodded. You're reliable. And customers are comfortable around you. Comfortable. That word stayed with me, because for the first time, someone was describing me without criticism, without comparison, just as I was. I accepted the role. More responsibility, a little more pay, more independence. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. There were still difficult days, still moments of doubt, still times when old words tried to come back, but they didn't stay as long, because now I had something stronger, proof, not from my family, from real life, from people who didn't know my past and didn't need to. Months later, I received a message from home. My mother, when are you coming back? I stared at the screen for a long time, not because I didn't have an answer, but because I finally understood something clearly. Going back didn't mean returning to the same place. It meant deciding who I was now, and whether I was willing to be seen differently or treated the same. I didn't reply to her message immediately, not out of anger, just clarity. A few days later, I finally called. Amy, I said. Yes, she replied. I'm doing fine. I told her. That's good, she said. So, when are you coming back? I paused for a moment. Not right now. Silence. Why, she asked. I didn't argue, didn't remind her of what she said that day. I just answered honestly, because I'm building something here. She didn't respond. Maybe she didn't understand. Or maybe she wasn't used to hearing me speak like that. After the call ended, I stood in front of the mirror again. Same face, same features, nothing extraordinary. But this time, I noticed something else. Calm, confidence, a quiet kind of certainty, not loud, not dramatic, just steady. And I realized something important. They didn't hurt me because of how I looked. They hurt me because of how they saw me. And now, that was no longer my responsibility, because self-worth doesn't come from being called beautiful. It comes from finally seeing yourself without needing anyone else to agree.